The sun had barely risen when Marcus found himself standing in front of the bus stop, his son's backpack slung over his shoulder. Tyrese, his 5-year-old, tugged at his sleeve with sleepy eyes, his hand clutching the small lunchbox Marcus had packed with care. The kind of lunchbox he never forgot, no matter how tired he was after working late the night before. "Dad, are you sure you'll be okay today?" Tyrese asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Marcus smiled, crouching down to meet his son's eyes. "I'll be fine, buddy. Today's the day we've been waiting for. I'm going to that interview, and everything's going to change." Tyrese nodded, his face brightening, even if he didn't fully understand what it meant. For him, it was just another day of waiting for his dad to come home with good news. He had grown used to the endless cycle of interviews, applications, and late-night shifts. But this one, Marcus had told him, would be different. This job, the one at the corporate office, was the one that would finally pull them out of the cycle. "Stay strong, little man," Marcus said as he ruffled his son's hair. With one last kiss, he stood and headed for the bus. He could feel his palms dampening with the weight of the day ahead. The hope, the nerves, the fear of failure, all mixed into a cocktail that had become familiar over the years. The interview was a big deal. It wasn't just another chance. This was his shot, and Marcus had spent weeks preparing for it. He had dressed in his best suit, a gift from a friend who'd seen potential in him when nobody else had, and had been up late last night running through his answers, rehearsing his pitch. He wasn't about to mess this up. As he walked down the street toward the bus, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, scanning the message. It was from the company's HR department. A notification saying they needed to reschedule the interview. His heart dropped for a moment before he opened the email to see the new date. Today, right now, in the next hour. "Are you kidding me?" Marcus muttered to himself. He looked at the time. It was already 8:10 a.m. He glanced around, and the bus wasn't in sight. He had 10 minutes, maybe 15, to get to the interview. The thought of missing it, the thought of failing Tyrese, made his stomach turn. His entire future, the one he'd been dreaming about, hinged on today. But just then, something caught his attention. A woman, standing at the curb, fumbled with her phone. She appeared frustrated, her back straight as she paced next to an old sedan. The car's hood was up, and the woman kept glancing at the engine, as if hoping it would suddenly come to life. Her frustration was palpable, and it tugged at something in Marcus. He felt the urge to help, something that had always been a part of him, even when things were tight. He couldn't help but feel like this woman might need him, maybe even more than he needed that interview. Marcus hesitated. His mind raced between the two options: get to the interview and secure a better future for his son, or step in and help a stranger. He glanced at his phone. The email was still open. His job interview. The chance to provide. And then there was this woman, her distress, her lone figure at the side of the road, looking for help. Without giving it a second thought, Marcus put his phone back in his pocket and jogged toward the woman. "Can I help?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. She looked up, startled. "Oh, I didn't expect anyone to stop." She sounded grateful but exhausted, her face lined with the marks of a long, challenging day. "I'll take a look at it," Marcus said, offering a smile that he hoped didn't betray his inner panic. He could still make the interview if he could get this sorted quickly, he thought. But the tension in his chest was growing. "I really appreciate it," the woman said, stepping back from the car. "It's not just a flat tire or something simple. I can't even get the engine to turn over." Marcus nodded. He had no time to waste. He popped the hood of the car, bending down to inspect the engine. The steady hum of the morning traffic buzzed around him, but all he could hear was the sound of his heart pounding in his ears. "Looks like the alternator's dead," Marcus muttered, inspecting the wires. "This is going to take a bit longer than I thought." The woman, still standing a few feet away, looked at him with a mixture of helplessness and gratitude. "I don't know what to do. I can't afford a tow, and I'm already running late for a meeting." Marcus turned to look at her. There was something in her eyes, something beyond the typical stress of a breakdown. It was a tired kind of worry, the kind that only people who had been up against the wall could understand. He saw himself in her, felt a connection to her struggle, and that pulled at him. He couldn't just walk away. He straightened up, wiping his hands on his jeans. "You'll be okay," he said softly, trying to reassure her. "We'll figure this out. Just give me a minute." He worked quickly, trying to find a solution, even as his mind kept drifting to the interview. The clock was ticking. He didn't have time for this, he knew that. But every time he tried to focus on the interview, his mind rebelled. The woman, stranded and helpless, needed him. How could he ignore that? A few minutes later, Marcus had managed to rig something together. The car wasn't perfect, but it would run for now. The woman looked at him, her face lighting up in surprise and relief. "You're amazing," she said, stepping forward to shake his hand. "I can't thank you enough." Marcus shook his head, trying to dismiss the praise. "It's nothing. Everybody needs help sometimes." She gave him a long, searching look before smiling softly. "You know, you've got a good heart." Marcus glanced down at his watch, then up at the woman. "I'm sorry, but I need to run." "I have." "Your interview?" She finished for him, raising an eyebrow. "You're running late." He nodded, guilt creeping in. He just missed his shot. His chance. All of it, gone in the blink of an eye, for a stranger. "I'll be okay," he said, not entirely sure if he believed it. "Good luck with whatever you're doing today." Just as he turned to leave, she called after him. "Wait, I have an idea. I think we can help each other." Marcus stopped, confused. "What do you mean?" "You've got something about you. You're not just a guy who fixes cars for a living. I see something in you, Marcus." She paused and then added, "I'm Avery. I'm a CEO of a company. And I think I could use someone like you. Maybe not today, but soon. You never know where this could lead." Marcus blinked, his heart racing. Was she serious? A CEO? What did she mean? He stood frozen, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Had he just missed his chance at the interview of a lifetime, only to stumble upon something bigger? As Avery slid into her car and started it up, she looked at him one last time, a knowing smile on her face. "Keep that good heart of yours, Marcus. You'll go far." And with that, she drove away, leaving Marcus standing on the sidewalk, the sound of her engine fading into the distance. The interview was gone, but somehow, so much more had just begun. Marcus stood there for a few seconds, his mind spinning. The sound of Avery's car fading into the distance was like the final nail in the coffin of his opportunity. He had missed his chance, and all for what? A good deed. A selfless gesture. He'd helped a woman in need, someone who seemed to have it all, and yet, he was standing here with nothing to show for it except the lingering weight of what could have been. His phone buzzed again, pulling him out of his thoughts. It was a reminder from the HR department of the company. He stared at it for a moment, unsure if he should even open it. The interview that could have changed everything was already gone. What was the point of hoping for a second chance? But still, he opened the message. "We've rescheduled your interview. You can still make it. We've moved it to 9:30. The words blurred in front of his eyes as he read them again, then again. The clock said 8:45 a.m. His heart sank further. He had missed it. He couldn't go back. It wasn't just the time that was lost, it was the opportunity that slipped through his fingers. The hours of preparation, the sacrifices, all of it gone. The feeling of helplessness crept over him like a dark cloud. He looked at his surroundings, trying to make sense of the mess. The world around him continued, indifferent to the chaos in his head. People walked by, their lives moving forward while his seemed to have stalled. For a moment, it all felt futile. The last few weeks had been full of hope for a new beginning, a better future for Tyrese, and the chance to live a life free of the endless grind. But now, standing on the side of the road with his heart heavy, Marcus wondered if he was fooling himself. Had he really believed that one interview could change everything? Or had he just been chasing an illusion? He shook his head, trying to clear the thoughts clouding his mind. He needed to focus. He needed to figure out what to do next, but his thoughts kept drifting back to Avery. Something about her had stuck with him, the way she had spoken to him, her words resonating deeper than he could explain. He couldn't help but wonder why she'd said what she had, why she'd offered him a chance. She was a CEO, and he was just a guy who worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. What could she possibly see in him? And yet her words echoed in his mind. You've got something about you. You're not just a guy who fixes cars for a living. What did that even mean? What did she see that he didn't? His hands tightened into fists as frustration built inside him. He had spent his entire life being told what he couldn't do, being overlooked, underestimated. And now this stranger, someone who had everything he wanted, had seen something in him that nobody else had. He walked slowly back to the bus stop, the weight of the situation pulling him down. The thought of seeing Tyrese's bright face when he got home made him push forward. He couldn't let his son see him like this, defeated and broken. Tyrese needed him strong, hopeful, even when things didn't seem to go his way. But as Marcus reached the stop, the bus pulled away, leaving him with no choice but to walk home. His legs felt heavy, like the weight of his failures was taking a physical toll. Each step felt like a reminder of the opportunities that had slipped through his fingers, of the path that was supposed to lead to a better life for him and his son. The walk home was long, and the further he walked, the more the world around him seemed to blur. His mind kept returning to Avery and her offer. Was it real? Or was it just a momentary kindness, a fleeting gesture from someone who was just trying to be nice? Was he overthinking it? When he finally got home, Tyrese was playing in the living room, his toys scattered across the floor. The sight of his son brought a sense of calm, but it also reminded him of how much was at stake. Tyrese deserved a better life, a life without the constant stress of living paycheck to paycheck. He deserved stability, a future full of possibilities. And Marcus was determined to give that to him. But right now, he was just a man who had missed his big chance. He slumped onto the couch, staring at the empty space in front of him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had made the wrong choice, that helping Avery had been a mistake. He had let something big slip through his fingers, and now he was left with nothing but regrets. As the hours passed, Marcus tried to distract himself, focusing on Tyrese, making dinner, and cleaning up the house. But every time he thought he was moving forward, his mind wandered back to that moment with Avery, to the words she had said. He couldn't help but wonder if there was something bigger at play here. Was this the universe's way of showing him a different path? His thoughts were interrupted when his phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from an unfamiliar number. He almost didn't open it, thinking it was just another spam message. But then he saw the name at the top of the message, Avery. Marcus, I hope you don't mind me reaching out, but I've been thinking a lot about our conversation this morning. I know it's a lot to ask, but I'd love to talk more about the opportunity one mentioned. I think you'd be a great fit for something I'm working on. His heart skipped a beat. He read the message again, then a third time, to make sure it wasn't a mistake. Avery was serious. She wanted to talk. He quickly typed out a response. I'm interested. When would be a good time? The response came almost immediately. How about tomorrow? I'll send you the details. Marcus sat back in disbelief. His heart raced. After all the doubts, all the questions, here was an opportunity. The kind of opportunity that could change everything. Avery hadn't just been offering him a chance out of kindness, she had seen something in him, something he had been blind to for so long. Tomorrow would be the day everything changed. It wasn't the interview he had planned for, but maybe it was the one he was meant to have all along. The next morning, Marcus woke up with a sense of cautious anticipation. He had never been one to dwell on things for long, but the message from Avery the night before had him buzzing with questions. Was this real? Could this be the opportunity he had been waiting for, or was it another false hope? The feeling of being caught between two worlds, one that was familiar and one that seemed completely foreign, kept him awake long into the night. He sat up in bed and rubbed his eyes, the weight of the day ahead pressing down on him. The house was quiet, save for the occasional hum of a passing car outside. Tyrese was still asleep, a peaceful expression on his face. The sight of his son, so innocent and unaware of the complexities of life, gave Marcus a brief moment of clarity. Whatever happened today, he had to keep moving forward, for Tyrese. After a quick breakfast, he prepared for the call with Avery. He didn't have much, but he made sure he looked presentable, worn but clean clothes, his best pair of shoes, and a fresh sense of purpose. He glanced at the clock. It was almost time. His nerves were starting to get the best of him, but he pushed them aside. There was no time for self-doubt. The phone rang, breaking the silence. He took a deep breath and answered, trying to keep his voice steady. "Hello? Marcus, it's Avery. How are you this morning?" Her voice was warm, smooth, confident. The kind of voice that instantly made him feel both at ease and a little on edge. "I'm good, thanks. Ready to talk?" "Great. I'm glad to hear that. Let's cut to the chase. I want you to come work for me, Marcus. I know it's sudden, but I've been thinking about what you said yesterday, and I believe you have something that my company could really use." Her words hung in the air, each syllable weightier than the last. He could barely process what she was saying. This was happening. He was being offered something real, something tangible. The job he had been hoping for, the break he had been desperate for, was now on the table, but not in the way he had imagined. "Wait, you want me to work for you? You don't even know anything about me." "I know enough," Avery said firmly, without hesitation. "I've been in this business long enough to recognize potential when I see it. You're smart, resourceful, and you care about the people around you. That's rare. I need someone like you, Marcus." The words hit him like a shockwave, and he struggled to find his voice. Was she serious? This couldn't be real. The thought of it was almost too much to comprehend. "But I'm just a guy who fixes cars. I don't have the experience you're looking for." He felt a knot form in his throat. It wasn't just about the job. It was the fear that had been with him his whole life, the fear that no one would ever take him seriously. That fear of being too small, too ordinary, to make a difference. Avery's voice softened, as if she knew exactly what he was thinking. "I'm not looking for someone who follows the rules. I'm looking for someone who can think on their feet. Someone who can handle whatever comes their way. And from what I saw yesterday, I think you have that in spades. You made a choice that most people wouldn't have made. You helped me because it was the right thing to do, even when it meant sacrificing your own chance. That's the kind of person I want on my team." Her words were powerful, but they also stirred something deep within him. How often had he been told that his choices didn't matter? That his sacrifices would go unnoticed? Avery was telling him the opposite. She was seeing him in a way no one ever had before. And suddenly, everything he had worked for, everything he had endured, didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like it had all been leading to this moment. "I don't know what to say," Marcus admitted, his voice trembling slightly. "You don't have to say anything. Just trust me, Marcus. This is your chance. I can help you take that next step. But I need you to make a decision now. Are you in or out?" The pressure was on, and Marcus felt it weighing on him. This was the turning point. The moment when everything could change, or everything could stay the same. He thought about his son, the life they had now, and the life they could have. He thought about all the nights he had spent wondering if this was all there was for him, just a series of dead-end jobs and missed opportunities. But now, there was something else. There was the chance to build a future, to make a real difference. To prove to himself and to Tyrese that he was more than just the sum of his circumstances. Avery was offering him a path he never would have found on his own. "I'm in," Marcus said, his voice steady now, the uncertainty giving way to determination. Avery's voice broke through the silence, filled with approval. "Good. I knew you'd come around. I'll have my assistant send over the details of the position. Let's get started, Marcus. You've got a bright future ahead of you." As the call ended, Marcus sat there for a moment, staring at the screen. His heart was racing, but there was no fear anymore. The weight of doubt had lifted, replaced by something stronger. He had taken a step towards something bigger than himself, something that could change the course of his life, and Tyrese's life, with it. The realization settled in, slowly at first, and then all at once. He had made the right choice. He had taken the risk, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. He had chosen to believe in himself when everything in his past had told him not to. Tyrese came running into the room, his face lighting up when he saw Marcus. "Dad, what's wrong? You look happy." Marcus smiled, pulling his son into a hug. "I am, buddy. I'm happy. We're going to be okay." Tyrese's innocent joy was the grounding force Marcus needed to move forward. Everything he had been working for, every late night and early morning, every moment of doubt, had brought him to this. And as he looked into his son's eyes, he knew this was just the beginning. He wasn't just doing this for himself anymore. He was doing it for Tyrese, for their future, and for everything he had ever dreamed of becoming. It was time to make those dreams real. The next few weeks passed in a blur for Marcus. After Avery's call, everything seemed to shift into high gear. There were meetings, interviews, and plans that all felt like they were part of a dream. But they weren't. They were real, and every step brought him closer to a life that felt more tangible than any hope he had clung to before. When the details of the job finally came through, Marcus was stunned. The position was more than just a job. It was a step into something new, something he had never imagined for himself. Avery had been right. He wasn't just a guy who fixed cars. He wasn't just a single dad trying to scrape by. He had skills, and those skills had earned him a place in a world that was so far beyond the life he had known. The job wasn't in car repair or manual labor. It was in operations management, a role that required leadership, strategic thinking, and the ability to keep things running smoothly. It wasn't what Marcus had expected. It wasn't even close to what he thought he'd be doing when he first got the call. But it didn't matter. It was the opportunity he had been waiting for, the one that would allow him to build something better, not just for himself but for Tyrese as well. And that thought carried him through the long hours, the learning curves, and the overwhelming newness of it all. Every day, Marcus pushed himself further, surprising even himself with how quickly he adapted. The office, the fast-paced environment, the corporate meetings, all of it felt like a whirlwind, but he had never felt more alive. He had never felt like he was truly meant for something until now. Through it all, Avery remained a guiding force. She was demanding, yes, but also fair. She recognized his potential, saw his dedication, and didn't let him forget his worth. Marcus had never worked with someone like her. She was a powerhouse, a woman who had built something from the ground up, and now, she was giving him the chance to do the same for himself. But the real challenge came when Marcus realized how different this world was from the one he had known. He wasn't just working in a warehouse or doing construction anymore. He was managing teams, handling complex tasks, and overseeing the operations that kept the business running smoothly. And it wasn't just the work that was challenging, it was the expectations, the demands that came with the position. At first, it was overwhelming. There were times when Marcus wanted to give up, when the weight of the job and the pressure to perform seemed too much. But something had changed in him. Something about his past, about all the years of struggle and hard work, had shaped him into a man who could handle the weight. He remembered all the late nights spent wondering if he was good enough. He remembered the sacrifices he had made just to keep a roof over his son's head. Every tough day on the job, every moment when he doubted himself, was met with a quiet resolve. He wasn't going to let it slip away. He wasn't going to let all the hard work go to waste. Avery had told him once, "Don't ever doubt your worth, Marcus. You've already proven you're capable." Those words kept echoing in his mind when things got tough. He wasn't just here by chance. He had earned it. He belonged here. And he would show everyone, especially himself, that he had what it took to succeed. Things weren't perfect. There were mistakes, there were moments when he felt completely out of his depth, but every time he stumbled, he got back up. Slowly but surely, Marcus began to find his rhythm. His confidence grew. He stopped second-guessing himself at every turn. One of the most challenging moments came during a critical meeting when Marcus was asked to present an operations plan to a group of senior executives. His stomach churned with nerves, and for a moment, he doubted whether he was truly ready. The room was filled with sharp minds, people who had been in the business for years. He had no formal training, no MBA to back him up. All he had was his work ethic, his intuition, and a burning desire to prove himself. But Avery was sitting at the head of the table, her eyes encouraging him. When the time came for Marcus to speak, he took a deep breath and started. At first, his voice was shaky. But as he went on, as he laid out his ideas and strategies, he found his stride. He could see the executives nodding, paying attention, and before he knew it, the meeting was over. Avery smiled at him as they left the room. "Well done, Marcus. I knew you had it in you." The pride in her voice, the validation, meant more than anything. It wasn't just about the work he had done in that meeting, it was about what he had proven to himself. He could do this. He had done it. A few months in, Marcus was becoming a key player in the company. He had built relationships, established himself as someone who could handle responsibility, and even earned the respect of his colleagues. But with every accomplishment, the pressure increased. The more he succeeded, the higher the stakes. There were days when he felt like he was barely keeping it together, but he pushed through, knowing what it meant for Tyrese, for their future. He couldn't afford to falter. On weekends, when he went home to Tyrese, he found a sense of peace. It was Tyrese who kept him grounded, who reminded him why he was doing all of this. There were days when Marcus would come home late, exhausted, only to find his son still awake, waiting for him. Tyrese would hug him, ask about his day, and Marcus would tell him how proud he was of him. Those moments were the fuel that kept him going. He wasn't just working for the next paycheck. He was working to build something for Tyrese, a life that his son could inherit, something better than the one he had grown up with. Avery's faith in him hadn't been misplaced. Every time Marcus faced a challenge, she was there, offering advice, encouragement, and tough love when needed. She wasn't just his boss, she had become a mentor, someone who pushed him to grow, to become better. And it wasn't just the job that had changed. Marcus had changed. He had found confidence, resilience, and a belief in himself that had eluded him for years. The job was more than just a paycheck now. It was proof that he had something to offer, something valuable. And when Avery called him into her office one afternoon, he didn't expect what she said next. "I've been thinking about you, Marcus. You've been with us for a while now, and I think you're ready for something more." Marcus felt a rush of excitement and fear. He had worked hard, but he had no idea what she meant. "I'm offering you a promotion," she said with a smile. "I think you're ready to lead a team of your own. You've earned it." It was everything he had wanted, everything he had worked for. But more than that, it was the affirmation that he had not only earned his place in this world but that he had earned the right to help others, just as he had once been helped. The news hit him hard, but in the best way possible. It wasn't just a promotion, it was the moment everything changed. He had climbed the ladder. He had proven that he wasn't just a man who had struggled for years. He was someone who could stand tall, who could lead. And as he thought about what this meant for Tyrese, his chest swelled with pride. This wasn't just his victory. It was theirs.